Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our session. We are so happy to have you here. As we wait for a few more people to join, please introduce yourself in the chat. Introduce where you're joining us from, because Africa is such a big continent with so many countries. Would love to know where you're joining from. And today, because our session is all about superpowers and inspiration and heroes of Africa, I feel like social innovators are the unsung heroes of our continent. So I would like to know if you could have any hero that you would work together with. They could be alive, they could be dead in the past, anybody you feel that you could work with. Who would that person be? And you can type it in the chat. So who would that person be that you would want to work with to bring about cross change in Africa? Any person who is alive or dead, any hero according to you you'd like to work with. I'll go first as I wait for you to share your details in the chat. I would love to work with Wangare Maathai, especially right now in Kenya, as we're like going through a bit of change and we are having a bit of environmental issues. I would really, really, really love to work with Wangare Maathai. So I'm going to really look forward to hearing from some of you who you'd like to work with, but also please let me know where you're joining from. It's always good to just have a conversation when we know where people are joining us from. So please type in the chat and we're gonna start in a minute, but not before at least I know who's in the room. So if you're joining us right now, we're sharing where we're joining us from and who is one hero you would like to work with, either dead or alive. And yeah, and I'm also going to ensure that our panelists also please type in the chat. So Livoyo, please type in the chat. Sipo, Madam Giselle, I'm so curious to know who you consider and who you'd like to work with. So please type in the chat before we kick off our almost final session from Catalyzing Change Week, which has been so inspirational and so great. So please, I would love to see who people would love to work with. The chat is looking a bit empty. Please, please, please. This is going to be a conversation. We want people engaging, we want people feeling energized. We want all of you ready to start end your Friday feeling good. Oh, Nelson Mandela. That is a really good person. You're very, very good person. Welcome, Sophia, all the way from Kenya. Who would you like to work with? Nelson Mandela is really good. Welcome from South Africa, Nteto Nyati. I hope I've said that correctly. I really hope I've said that correctly. And Mariana Mazzucato. Wow. I feel like we're going to need to take a moment and do some history lessons after this, but thank you so much for sharing. Welcome from all the way from France. Fantastic. This is really, really great. Hero Nomzamo Mbatha. Wow. Powerful names. Even when like I read them out, I'm like, such powerful names. Hello, all the way from Cape Town. Hello from Cape Town. We're putting in our heroes who we would love to work with. So far, we've had Nelson Mandela, we've had Nteto Nyati, we've had Mariana Mazzucato, we have had Nomanzo Batha, and we just want to have a few more before we start. Give people a few minutes to join. Oh, hello, all the way from Tanzania. I'm feeling like at the end of this session, we should also go do some Google and see why people are joining us. Okay, so because we don't have a lot of time, I'm gonna kick us off with a few housekeeping rules. If possible, please, please, please keep your video on. Would love to just see your faces and have a very, very interactive session. Please also make sure that you are renamed with your name at least and where you're joining us from, but at least your name so we can be able to talk about, call you out, have a conversation with you. It's very, very important. We really appreciate that. And then you can go to your Zoom and hover and you can rename yourself. Please raise your hand and unmute when you have a question for the speakers. It's going to be a very good conversation today. We're calling it a conversation because we just want to be able to live here inspired and hear about all the amazing work going on in our continent. And then, yeah, let's just have a great session. We'd really love for you to utilize the chat. We'd really love to feel the energy in the room. I know our speakers would love to read your chats and hear what you're feeling about the session as we go along. So please, please, please be an engaging audience and have a great time. It's going to be a lovely conversation. And this session is part of Catalyzing Change Week. We are on day 5, and we have a very special video as we end our Catalyzing Change Week that we should all just take a moment to listen to and feel inspired. So there we go.
Namaste. I'm Dr. Megha Phansarkar from Mumbai, India, the co-chair of Catalyst Change Week 2025. As Catalyst Change Week 2025 reaches its final day, we turn our attention to innovation in education, the foundation on which every other system of change is built. Education innovations are transforming the way we learn and teach. From adaptive learning platforms, AI-driven tutoring systems, identification of learning gaps, to ensuring more interactive and engaging methods of sharing knowledge. The classroom and learning has been democratized irrespective of where you are and what language you speak. It is about equipping people with skills, values, and imagination to create future of possibilities. Across today's session, you will see how innovations are weaving new methods and models of learning, linking education to well-being, technology, financial sustainability, intergenerational collaboration, and cultural knowledge. These conversations remind us that learning never ends. It grows and evolves with us. Transformational education is inclusive, creative, and grounded in dignity. And when every voice has a place in shaping it, education becomes a driving force for more just and resilient societies. As we close this week, let us carry forward the spirit of curiosity and collaboration that education inspires. Because in every learner lies the possibility of a better future. Welcome to the session presented by Catalyst Now. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. And what a beautiful way to lead into our segment of our topic for today. We're going to bring about voices who have been doing this for a minute, who are here to also now impart wisdom through education, because we're all social innovators in this room. We all have passion and we are all leading with impact and change. And now we would love to learn from those who are doing it, how they do it. How has this journey been? It's been one beautiful story, and I'm going to hand it over to Luvuyu, who's going to be our moderator for today, to introduce himself and our panelists for the day. And I really hope that it's going to be an inspiring and educational session. So over to you, Luvuyu.
Thank you so much, Adrian, for this opportunity. I mean, really, it's just an honor for me to be a Catalyst member and experience how the growth, I mean, has come about it. And as I see this video, I just come in with pride and coming with gratitude to see this journey for these years since Catalyst was established. And CEO Brian also with Ingrid been part of this call. So it's a grateful, I mean, session now. And maybe it is a blessing for us to be next to the closing session. So which means that I'm saying to the speakers, but also everyone here. It's not only from a one-way, it's a two-way that we have it. It's a Friday, it's 3 p.m. in South Africa. We need to have fun. We need to be inspired. We need to be in a space where the session, I mean, really, after it, we take something, even one thing that we take on a session. This week has been amazing week. It's been having many sessions, I mean, that has been there. So let it be the session that showcase and provide a good story about Africa. That's what we kind of intend. That's what to see now, that there are amazing social innovators in the continent that are doing amazing work now. So I'm not going to, I mean, spend much more time and tell you about how Africa Forward. I just want to go straightly because we only have 50 minutes of the time and we have to ask also a question and answer. There are a few questions that I have, probably 4 or 5, and then I will give up, I mean, question now. So if any question comes in, please write on the chat and then I'll attend to that question. If there's anyone that there's a question that we want to because I want to make sure that it becomes engaging. It's not only one way with that. So we've got, diversity of the speakers, 3 speakers. There's a youth element, there's a global element, and then there's a kind of the generation, which is much more like, I call it wisdom, that we have it here today. So based on the protocol, I'll start with the youngest, which is Sipho. I didn't even introduce yourself, but just like Sipho, I know him for many years on the Catalyst, where we had with your coach, first meeting we had it way back when I used to be a coach for Africa, and then see how we can work together now. So Sipho, as we work together with the Africa Forward on the advisory, and also you work with the GC, Global Council for Catalyst, and working so hard in your community. Can you, share about who is Sipho? We might not know Sipho, so I'm keen also to know you, Sipho, today.
Thank you so much, Luvuyu. And you can just note for me if I'm audible enough. Yeah?
You are
Yeah,
clear.
great. Perfect. So thank you for that warm introduction, and thank you to everyone that has joined. And I'm happy to be on this panel with my fellow panelists. So my name is Sipho Mwanza. I am a developmental specialist as well as climate activist. I also lead an organization called Open It for All Zambia, which focuses on amplifying peri-urban and rural voices and connecting them to speak to power, policies, in national processes. Like we said, I also sit on the Africa Forward Advisory Board as a board member. I also sit in the governing council as well as a member at that global stage to ensure that I am able to influence the voices of young people, even in the global spaces as well as on the African continent where I belong. That will be all from me. Thank you so much, Luvuyu.
You forget to tell them that you give me much more hair. Not hard headache, but you're kind of like asking difficult questions and really speak from young people. So I really enjoy working with you, Sipho, for Africa Forward. And I think one thing that I enjoy so much, the word you said, we are behind you. We make sure that every chapter is in the continent, they know you. So when you go on this platform, you speak on their behalf. And I think that's, for me, it's something that I really, as like young one telling me this profound. So I kind of enjoy journeying with you now. And my favorite person, in fact, all of them are my favorite. On that, we've been this journey of the G20 with the catalyst. Every meeting will come, she will raise a hand. How can I get involved with the policy? How can I participate on the G20? And how can I make sure that the voices have been part of and it's been a G20, engagement. Funny enough, I can tell the story before it tells about you. And when we met in Unga, in person, we met for the first time in person. And it's like I said, I think I know you. It's like, no, you can't say you know me because I meet with you every month. And I was so embarrassed that I kind of not knowing it in person now. But lovely to know you and work with the Catalyst and really interested on the policy now. So please share about yourself. Who's Nadat?
Hi, everyone. My name is Nadat Gaurametin, and thank you so much, Luvuyu, for that context, providing that context to folks. I lead an organization called Hagush. It's a social enterprise that is addressing the digital divide. Okay, so essentially making technology access universal, starting with digital tools for smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa. We make the digital devices more affordable through innovative financing, and also we optimize the supply chain, so we reduce the cost of devices by 35 to 45% than market prices. Our goal is very simple, but very ambitious given the scale of the problem. It is to connect the unconnected, which is about 3 billion people around the world who, for all intents and purposes, remain completely excluded from the digital economy. So we just want to make sure that everybody has the tools that allow them to engage in the economy more fully, essentially. I'll pass it back to you,
No,
Ludwig.
thanks so much, Ada. I mean, like, you are doing amazing work. I mean, providing that access and connectivity, because that's the biggest thing. We can talk about AI, but if the connectivity and access is not being looked at, let's forget about it now. I mean, it's so great to work, and I think that's the work that I know mostly, but it's so great. I mean, like, connect with you now. And let me, I mean, call Madam Gisela. We've been in this journey. I think when we started chapters in Africa, Madam Gisela was the fifth. I mean, chapters was Kenya, South Africa, Cameroon, and Nigeria. I'm not sure the fifth one was, maybe Liberia. And it was in the early stage, trying to figure out how can we in the continent work together. I mean, she's been there. We've been journeying also with the Schwab, I mean, through the WEF together. And I call Madam Gisela the mother of social entrepreneur in Africa. I mean, that's kind of the wisdom that we are going to be able to hear to Madam Gisela. So over to you, Madam Gisela, just like introducing yourself.
Hello, are you seeing me?
Nope, we're not seeing you. They are not able to put you in. Yes, I can. We see you now.
You can see me now.
Yes, yes.
Okay. My name is Giselle Itamben. As you said, I've been in this area for a very long time. And when I came back from university, I'm an economist. When I came back from university, I was a trainer. I was a professor at Pan-African Institute for Development. So we were doing a lot of studies. And one day I have the opportunity to go to the field, and I could see the women and see that they are working hard, but their activities and earnings have remained at the subsistence level. The next year I quit my job to set up an organization to support entrepreneurship development among women. Because when I went to the market, as you will see in many markets in Africa, almost every woman is doing the same thing as the others. So I start discussing with them and bringing them together, training them. And I was just surprised to see how happy, enthusiastic they were. That just gives me, the strength to go ahead and continue. From those training, we move on to microfinance to be able to support them with finance. We move on with the advent of information and communication technology. I start the first networking academy in Central Africa, supported by Cisco, where women could come in, and the men came and said, oh, is it only for women? Women were paying half of the fees at the institution. So, as time evolved and the things evolve, we have been trying to model what we are doing in such a way that our constituency are supported. We move from women, we add up young male with us, and we were able to work together. We have put in place several kind of activities to be able to bring the energy of our people at the level we want. We have been working with government, we have been working with networks for what we cannot do ourselves, how we mobilize others to come and do what we would like to do.
I mean, it's amazing, Madam Chancellor. I mean, like the work that we've been doing more than 30 years. I mean, you've been believing this work, committed with this work. Before social entrepreneurs were fashionable, before people were talking about social entrepreneurs, you've been there and making what keep you going? Because it's hard. I mean, it's not just an easy thing, it's very hard. So what keep you going? I mean, until now, you still continue.
Yes, of course. I was amazed when a friend of mine looked at me and said, how old are you? And I start questioning myself. She said, oh, really? So you don't know how old you are? I'm really passionate. And I think my passion will end the day I will see social justice. Because these underprivileged people do not deserve to be at that level. That's why we have microfinance, training institution, and today we are working with our microfinance to be able to bring access to finance to more by putting in place a community inclusive currency so that is the results, the happiness of those who have received something, and the fact that I'm still feeling that we have not yet reached the goal.
Now we'll come back with that. I mean, like I'm just inspired, and I think it's really an honor for all of us to have like your wisdom now. Maybe come back to that. I mean, I'm keen to understand why you do what you do, but also want to connect to the child in you. I mean, because there was a reason, as Madam Giselle talked about, like I mean, she was a lecturing economics and realizing what is lecturing in the reality, two difference. So I'm keen to understand from that, I mean, what was cause for you to transform your life to, I mean, work now to bring, I mean, the digital transformation?
Thanks for that question. I started out as a medical doctor, so I practiced medicine, but then at one point I realized a couple of things. One was that I started this organization, and that led to me engaging with a lot of creative problem solving while we were trying to address this problem. And I realized this is a skill set that I seem to be excellent at. But unfortunately, you don't get to do a lot of creative problem solving in medicine. And so that was one reason. Basically, you really don't want your doctor getting creative, essentially. You want them to stick to what you know, to what they know. And then the other reason was at one point, it became very clear the kind of problems that were keeping me up at night were structural in nature. They were things like global poverty, global governance, what do we do about it? Inequitable systems, how do we fix them? Things like that. And these are decidedly outside the scope of medicine. And so that's why I made this shift. And then why the digital divide? I am Eritrean, where I grew up, and I grew up not having a lot of access to basic digital technology. And when I did have eventually access to digital technology, it completely changed my life. And so it was from being immersed in a world where you saw people, incredibly capable people, held back simply because they didn't have access to basic digital tools. That led me to found the organization.
Powerful. I mean, it's so good to understand our stories. I mean, like now it's understanding now deeper now about, I mean, why are you doing what you do? And then living your career, which is a comfortable career, and work in bringing access to as many people that I commend you for that, you know. Yeah, Sipo, I mean, same Sipos. I mean, like, as young as you are, I mean, it's not normally young people are coming on space, I mean, getting involved with like social. So tell us just like briefly about, I mean, what makes you to decide what was cause, I mean, for that, because you could hear the stories in terms of like, I mean, being an economist, being a doctor, and then for you, I want to understand now, as young as you are, what was the cause?
All right. So for me, it all began in 2020 during the census of housing enumeration. And so I was sent to, or rather, I wanted to be sent to an urban area because it's easy. Life is easy in town and all of that. So I was sent to a remote part. That's where I was deployed to as an enumerator. And so during that data collections that I was getting, I then began to see a realization that, things that we took for granted, like just having clean water, just having better roads, better health facilities, that I can be sick and, within a radius of 3 kilometers, I can go to the next clinic. But where I've gone, those realities were different. And so as I began to gather data, something began to grow in me. I think I was moved by the desire to see change. And as I was getting that data, because I interacted with a number of communities, and I was asking to say, so what are you doing about this? Because part of living in a rural setup is that you get to collect water. You live like them, you get to collect water where they get their water from. And so when I realized that the distance was very, very far away, And I began to imagine and say, no, something needed to be done. And so when I began to ask these questions about what they were doing and how they were engaging their leaders and how they were holding duty bearers accountable, nothing seemed to have been working. And so that's how I grew that deep passion to say, no, I needed to do something about this. And then so after that, later on, I began to follow up with the local authorities and stuff just about that particular community that I had visited. And so from there, the desire to say I needed to change this began to come in. So for me, it came in. And so I began to, that's how Open It for All Zambia was born, from that desire to change that. Because I knew to say going through these offices and asking on their behalf wasn't going to cut it. And so I needed to be able to be in those communities and build their capacity to make them social change makers themselves to address their issues, because there was a gap. And a number of these services in rural communities are not just there, and they don't know how to go about it. And that's how come Open It for All Zambia was born, because it provided an aspect of the digital space to connect citizens to digital spaces to be able to amplify their voices and influence policy at that local level. Yeah.
Right. And I'm fascinated with you. I mean, because every time I will probably WhatsApp you and call you, you will say, I'm on the field working. But later you'll be connecting globally and be on the council or in the Africa Forward or talking with me on the African issues like how is that? I mean, from Zambia, being in men's on solving problems in the community, but understanding now that you have to solve problems globally, because that's how things, I mean, how do we shift the system now? So how is it for you? Because most of social innovators, they want to focus on what they do because they don't have resources to be, managing all of these things.
Yeah, so for me, I think one of the opportunities and privilege I've had was, remember, after discovering that those issues, I was enrolled in a program called the .U Street Team. So basically, it connected me at an early stage with social innovators from different parts of the continent, and I began to get issues around what was happening in Uganda, what was happening in Rwanda, and in most of these African countries. And so those became like a launch pad for me to be able to say, no, change cannot just happen in Zambia alone. We needed to take this change at the global level as well as far as the African continent is concerned. And so that became easier because then one connection, and what really matters here are connections and collaborations. So you'd realize that partnerships are key in this. And then in these spaces, you look at who are your closest allies and partners that you can collaborate with, that you share some synergies with. And so for me, that grew organically.
But I can tell it because I don't have nothing to hide. I mean, at some point you kind of say, I met my brother. I was given a different story about you. Man, I understand you. I mean, like, what changes? I mean, you can share with everyone. What have changed? Because you have this kind of different understanding. But when you work with someone, you kind of realize that, you all in the same space. We want to make better of the continent.
Yeah, I think when we speak like this digitally, you know someone at a glance. It's easy to have a misconception about them. And give for example, like you, Luvuyu, the moment I began to speak with you and just get to know you as Luvuyu, not as director of anything, you begin to know a person at a personal level, and you begin to share this bond, and then these bonds are developed, and trust begins to build from there because you understand the person from the point of who they are other than positions and titles. And this gives these growing relationships to know people better. And then that's just unique in terms of how that, organically grows and you begin to communicate on a regular basis.
Powerful. I think mostly of our currency is a trust that we have to build. For trust is kind of like key opens and at that, I was with you in the night of Malawi as a Friends of Malawi, and we were attending the session to support. As we were sending a session with the Cycle and also team session. But I'm so observant. But I saw you are a great networker. I mean, when I was talking with you, you kind of knows everyone. So, if you could share how, it's more that how do you operate globally to extend that in this kind of conversation, it becomes easy for you to go out and start making some connection now. What is the secret?
All right. So for me, the secret
No,
has
no, no,
been
no,
so.
Sipho, I just want to know that Sipho. Just like want like I just like I mean to I'll come back to you for secret. I'll just come back to that now because I saw something and I wanted to share with everyone like what the secret of making easy for connecting.
So that's
Okay.
for me.
I will say the secret. I don't know if it's a secret. Being a people person helps. Being deeply interested in people and what they care about, that helps. It's not even, yeah, I want to echo what Sifa said, basically. It's just it's all about who is this person, what do they care about? And to the extent possible, if you can find a way of talking about the things that they care about deeply and what do they want to drive forward in the world, and then you can figure out a way, maybe there is a way that you can collaborate. So I would say more than anything is just being deeply interested in people and what they care about and going from there. Yeah. I don't know
No, thanks so
about
much. No,
that
thanks so
being
much.
a secret.
Yeah.
On
Sipho, you want to
that,
come in on that like
I would like to come in here.
Okay.
Yes, I think all what characterizes a social entrepreneur everywhere is the willingness to address the systemic inequalities.
Yes.
And also the reduced amount of resources. So you are always open to know how the other one has done to be able to achieve that much. You see, and I think that if you see what SIPO is doing, you will be amazed in terms of how big it is with how small he has, you see. And that reminds me, one day the ambassador of Canada visited my program and saw what we were doing. And he just shouted and said, oh, we are using Kalashnikov or a big gun just to kill a fly. See what they are doing here. So when you see how much the big institutions are using for the problem that we are dealing with, they are pouring a lot of money. If the World Bank said that he needs millions of dollars to create maybe 1,000 employment, my friends here, we need that million to create 1 million employment because they know how to really bring in the community, bring in the knowledge of other people. They know how to build strategic alliances in the community and globally to be able to achieve their objectives.
So, Sipo, anything before I kind of like close out with like questions like, oh, are you like, yeah?
Yeah, so I agree with what some of the participants are saying in the chat. I mean, it's very important to invest in people, and all of us at some point there is either an institution or a person that will be able to invest in those people. And sometimes projects end, but then the people themselves will always remain. And this is why even as we do what we do, it's always important to invest in these communities, to invest in the very same people that are in these communities, because that then creates this long-lasting impact for sustainability and for change. But in terms of how we collaborate and bring ourselves together, like Nadia was saying, I think it's very important to look at who's doing what. You begin to map your ecosystem. Because sometimes it's very, very hard to navigate these spaces. And so when you know who's doing what, you know the people, and then know a person who know that person or who are connected to that system, because then those will be your introduction point, your starting point in your journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Madam Giselle, I mean, I'm kind of very interested in, as you part of the Schwab, part of the WEF, also you are the co-chair for Africa Catalyst, and you are also continue making much more difference in Cameroon and making much more impact. So how people will remember you when you're not around? We'll not say that you have to not be around, but how people like will remember you?
That is a hard question. but a very enthusiastic person and very focused for the change that I've been looking for, keeping on doing and doing, you know, around the objective that I have had. I think I think I've heard some people commenting, and I wish to be remembered as somebody who has really bringing in the community some changes, who today I can be happy to see those who have succeeded, and that, you know, asking me how I would like people to remember me as somebody who has worked hard for what she was believing in and has had some results.
Thank you so much. Now that, I mean, 20 years from now, how envisaging your work and how on the system shift you envisaging that we can shift the system, because you are working on really bringing access to ordinary people?
How I envision the change?
Yeah, how you envisage that the future for you now?
Yeah, I would say, if just imagine people having access universally to basic digital technology. And that would mean if there is a child in, let's say, Zambia, and they want to, when they're 8 years old, they want to start coding, then they can, because they have access to the tools they need to be able to do that. Because that's a very common thing you hear in this side of the world. Is I have a lot of friends who are computer engineers, and they would say, oh yeah, I started coding when I was 8 years old or 9 years old, but that simply is not an option for a lot of African kids. But we'll see what's happening with AI and coding now. But that the fact that that is not available for a lot of kids across the African continent is a problem. And so in 20 years, we would have made a dent on the problem. So ideally, we would see young people engaging with digital tools in a productive way, and that opening opportunities for them, essentially. I also would like to say one of the things that we're doing in terms of systems change for the particular problem that we're addressing, because, you know, it's helpful to, when you're talking about systems change, to start with a single problem. So with the specific single problem that we're addressing, the immediate problem is a lot of people don't have access to basic digital technology. And so the solution there is to make access available. But then there is the systems change component of our work, which goes beyond tackling the practical, immediate question of barrier to, which is affordability, barrier to access. And it is all about challenging and reshaping the laws and institutions that are making global poverty, that are creating and perpetuating global poverty or global economic inequality. And it all comes down to thinking about, how do we challenge those systems? How do we challenge those laws? How do we challenge those institutions to make them more equitable? Because that's the only way you go from the status quo, where now billions of people around the world are simply not able to afford basic digital technologies. How do we go from there to people being able to afford them? Not because my organization exists to make access available, but because they can afford them. They're not caught up in a state of poverty. So to be able to do that, you need to change the systems that are creating and perpetuating global economic inequality, because that's the only way to lead to real, lasting systems change. And so I want to see in 20 years that we also make a dent on that front.
Beautiful. I mean, that's us smiling. That's the kind of a language that, I mean, as Africa Forward and Catalyst, I mean, trying to see from a policy point of view, because that's how the shift can take place. That's how, I mean, like, we unlock much more value from the continent. So that's a beautiful, like, message. Thanks so much. Like, yeah, Sipho, any for you in years to come, because you're still young. So where do you want to you see for the same age at 35 and 70 years. So when we are 70, and how do you look back and say this is the journey that I mean through, and this is what I wanted to achieve when I was 70?
All right, thank you, Luvuyo. So for me, I envision really a legacy of empowered communities. By communities, I mean rural communities, because these are the communities for me when it comes to opportunities and everything, they are always left behind in terms of development, in terms of either policies, kind of like them enjoying the benefits of policy. They're usually the last, they are at the end of these communities, but yet in terms of service delivery, they are not receiving so very much of in terms of very good service delivery. So what I envision to see is these empowered communities, rural communities, where they are able to enjoy equal opportunities with a person in an urban area, wherever they are, and also see connected to the global digital world to ensure that they are able to connect, because connection in terms of there is this urban and there is this rural divide that is there, digital divide that is there. So I expect to see communities that are also able to enjoy the same privileges that people from urban areas are enjoying, but I also expect to see them be able to be advocate for their own issues, an empowered community that speaks for themselves in terms of what they want to see, and they're able to define their own community priorities for that. So that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing, whether I'll be proud to look back and see, oh, that rural community is able also to enjoy these policies. They are also able to influence and inform policy. Over to you, Louis.
Yeah, no, thanks so much, Tipos. This is like, why are you saving on the GC Council and saving because of like the passion around that. Before the question comes in, I just want to read a message. So as Africa Forward, we've been spotlighting and sharing the stories of social innovators in the continent. This message came in to Madam Giselle, and this is something that inspires me, something that I love mostly, and I want to read it to all of you so that you understand the session is all about. And this is kind of a session that we're doing it. And I'm hoping part of this message, it could resonate to all of us to understand that the legacy that we're doing it, it's been felt by many people now. So this message comes from on LinkedIn of Africa Forward. It was shared by Osimo, and Osimo said, I had a privilege of knowing Madam Gisela since I was a child. And over the years, I have witnessed her unwavering dedication, intelligence, and a passion for empowering others. Today, I'm honored to work alongside her at Asif Knowledge Academy for Development, where her vision and leadership continue to inspire all us to strive for excellence and motivation. Madam Gisela, commitment to nurture the talent, creating meaningful impact is a testament of a power of a perseverance, integrity, and heart devoted to service. She is not only a mentor, but a living example how one person dedication can transform lives and communities. That's for me. That's like for me, it's like this is like all the kind of work of social innovators are doing. And this is where that as Africans, we have to tell our stories whilst we're living. So that when you pass on, we're not in a space where we cry and able to say, this how they impact now. So all of you, it's a message that social innovators in this call and through Madam Giselle, that the dedication and the work that we're doing now. So I'm opening up now for the calls. Just raise your hand. If anyone has got any question, wants to, question this amazing individual sitting here, please raise your hands. I will give it to you. And you can ask as any question that you want to, ask the question. And if not, I will take it over and I'll enjoy my party. So please raise the hands if you've got any questions. Okay, so the silence is when I do meditation. So I think let me move on, and in the meantime, if there's no question, and then someone will be able to join in the questions now. I think to come to you, Sip, as young as you are, as serving for Africa Forward, serving Catalyst, and working so hard in the communities of Zambia. What is the future for Africa? What are you seeing for Africa?
Thank you so much, Luvuyo. And just, I'm so glad that you've asked that question. And I'll begin by saying the future of Africa is the young people. Africa's greatest asset is its young people because number one, they're innovative. They have what it takes. They've got, this zeal and confidence to be able to effect change. And so I see this future that if we are to invest in this generation of young Africans, because the world everywhere, world over, everyone is looking at Africa in the coming years or so. Africa has the potential to transform. Africa is the next big thing. And for that to happen, we need to ensure that we are investing so much in our young people, ensuring that we are supporting in whatever they are doing, be it in technology, AI, and all of these things, because this is where we are heading to. And so I encourage and invite everyone to say, let's invest in our young people because they are the ones that are taking this policy and the future forward because it is their time to do that and they're growing with this mixed intergenerational approach. They're really learning so much from the old folks as well as, taking up because we have been honed and prepared for this kind of leadership and all of that. And I am a very good example of that, having serving in two very big bodies globally in terms of Africa Forward as well as in Catalyst now in the GC. So yeah, over to you, Luvuyo.
I mean, when you talk about SIPO, it's something that you live in, and we're looking forward to see you in Joburg in the G20 Social Summit, in the key opening, panel, and then representing young people because it's you spot on, and you're spot on. I think that I could see the passion, I could see the love that you believe what you do. Okay, yeah, now that could be the same question that I know when you go through this global, and then I know through your country and now your passion, what are you seeing in the continent of Africa?
I will echo what Madame Giselle said earlier about a lot of Africans on the ground doing a lot with very little. And so one thing that gives me hope and that I'm excited about the future for Africa is the creativity and resilience that I see everywhere. There's an entire generation that is essentially doing all sorts of things, creating solutions, scaling solutions, even though they have very little resources without waiting for permission. So just going for it, that I find very exciting. And I look very forward to, I don't know, maybe 50 years down the line, what we'll see. And then the other thing is now there is more of a move from creating particular solutions to particular problems on the ground to thinking about how do we shift the system that is to begin with creating these problems. So conversations around global governance and how to make them more equitable. Those conversations are coming from global South nations. And so I'm excited to see bigger systems level shifts for Africa that make it thrive in the future.
Yeah, I think the US president has showed us that we have to be on our own. And that's the time for us that we have to show that as Africans that we can do that. Yeah. Thank you so much. And Madam Giselle, as you serve on the continent and you serve, with your time, with your energy, with everything to the betterment of the continent, why do you continue to believe and what are you seeing as the future of this continent? Unmute on your end.
The number of social entrepreneurs just show us that we are owning our problem. And being the owners of our problem, we are going to own the solutions. You have seen in the area of ICTs how we have with our problem in the area of money, how far we have gone because we have found solutions that are worldwide now taken because we are trying to solve our own problems. And that is absolutely something that makes me really, looking forward to something important because we are the one talking for ourselves. We are starting to be part of the conversation, and we are forcing the conversation because we are finding solutions for ourselves, which are not the problem of the others. This is very, very important. And I'm seeing a brighter future, and taking more ownership of our problem, ownership of our countries. So I think if our young guys, if our young people stay true to their mission and their values, there is no way that we are not going to be at the top, because everybody, we have everything. This is the continent. This is the most beautiful lady. You know, we have everything. We have to empower ourselves to be able to enjoy what we have, what is God given.
Thank you. So much love. I mean, it come from you, just showing that really the wisdom that comes, and you've been in this journey, you know exactly how it is to build it. So I appreciate it now. The last question on my end, starting with you, Sipho. I mean, as a social entrepreneur, I mean, most are social entrepreneurs on this call. What message of the advice or sharing anything, so many social innovators, I mean, on this call, I mean, with your journey and with the impact that you are trying to make on a daily basis?
Yeah, thank you, Lubuyu. I think for many young entrepreneurs and all entrepreneurs overall, is that there's usually this, you can say it's sometimes as long as you have an idea, it's always good to start. Once you start, everything else will begin to fall in place. And then there will be up and downs, and there'll be moments when you feel like you want to give up, it's not worth it. But I think in those instances, it's always very important to know why you started. And you look at the bigger picture of the communities that you are trying to impact, because at the end of the day, it's not all about us, it's about the communities that we are trying to weave these systems into, and to begin to bring the best out of these communities as we empower communities to be able to stand on their own. And so, regardless of what challenges or mountains we have to climb, sometimes possibilities will always seem limitless if we are able to overcome and be able to look at who are the allies in the spaces we are working with. Once we begin to identify that, and these allies are not only families, they might be your mentors, they might be your friends who encourage you to keep going and advise you when you're about to give up and give you that nudge to say, you're doing a great work. And sometimes all we need to hear is from a friend and say, I like what you're doing. You're really impacting this community. That speaks volume, even if you do not have the resources to. But it will always ensure that it makes you thrive, it makes you be resilient, and know that to say you're on the right course. And the rest will just fall in. So for me, that's all I can say. And over to you, for you.
Thanks so much, man. I remember that pat on the bed and the back when I was a teacher that my principal gave to me. And that's why I'm sitting here with everyone now. It's very important, that encouragement, those small words that affirms anyone that doing that works, because that gives confidence for someone to do something about their lives now. So now, that any advice that you could share with, anyone in the call?
Yeah, of course. So I would echo what Sipho said, start. So start wherever you are, be patient with the process. Social innovation is rarely linear. It is very messy. It's iterative. Sometimes it is painfully slow, but that's okay so long as you focus on your why behind the reason why you're doing the things that you're doing, and just start somewhere and go from there. Don't be afraid to build differently, because often you will see that whatever problem you're solving for, you may have to innovate and do new things, and it may never have been done before, and you may not have a map to follow, but that's okay. So long as you keep to the why and go back to the why, you will make it through. And then the second thing I would say is it's easy to default to tackling the very practical, the immediate problems that we see around us, but to always be thinking about the systems change component of things. root causes and how to make those root causes go away while addressing the practical, immediate concerns. So I would say those two things.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's the powerful, I mean, the advice. So before Madam Giselle close the session with the wisdom, so just for our speakers, if you could able to, I mean, rate out of 10, how was the session? So 9 and 10 and 8 and 7 and 5, just put the number. If you want to share like what's for you, you are welcome. Just want to measure how was the session to see from the speakers to see if that they're able to inspire you. They kind of make change now. So please write anything you want to write from the speakers now. So Madam Giselle, from you, any advice from many young people are sitting here and listening? I mean, in fact, most of audience, they are maybe same age as your organization. So they're kind of keen to hear from you.
The first thing I will say is that you should stay true to your mission and your values, and then never be afraid to fail, because it's going to happen. And learn from your failure, and I'm sure that you will do it differently, but you will learn from there and grow taller. And you have to be adaptable and resilient in the face of challenges. You have to build strong relationship, because as we said, we need to learn from others. We have a lot of problems to solve. How has my friend from Ethiopia done it? Can she help the constituency in Cameroon do the same? You know, what characterizes social entrepreneurs is their generosity. We have a lot and we are sharing freely. So we should be able to tap into all this network in which we are, and also be part of the whole system, because as we keep on saying, is about system changing. Because if the system was good enough, we will not be out trying to solve this problem. And the passion, and do not forget to keep learning, because that's where your ideas come. And I'm sure you know, I read the stories of my fellow entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs. I exchange with them. I try to see how they did and collaborate with them.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's powerful. Just like drop the mic and then we are done now. Let me like look at like Olivia 10 and Abdel 10 and Indren 10. Participate. You can also share your rating. Okay, Wesley 10, Susan 10, and Akama 10, and then Sophia. Madam Gisela, how can you be reached? Ibrahim 10 and Abdullah inspired 100%. And Sekaya, I'm so inspired, definitely 10. And Funani, 10. And share freely, you have okay to give. And then Adrian, keep learning. Okay, thank you. And Kudzai at 10. Just for me, from the Catalyst and Africa Forward, for this session, for the speakers, for everyone that attended this session today, as we about to go to closing. And I'm hoping to join the closing ceremony. When we close the Catalyst, it's quite important. There's a link. You can join the session now as we are closing the Catalyst now. Let's go there and finishing up this Friday in a high note now. It's been great. Thank you, Adrian, for kind of facilitating. Thank you, Susani, Brian, and Ingram for all you, make it possible now. I'm hope, Adrian, if anything, I think I'm done my job and I've done my tenders. And thank you so much, guys.
Thank you
You have
so
done
much,
your job.
everybody, for
Thank you.
joining.
Thank you.
We'll see you at the closing ceremony. Thank you to our speakers, and thank you so much. What a wonderful session. Bye, everyone. See you on the next call.
See you.
Thank you.